Building a good deck is the foundation of being able to be victorious on the battlefield. A very good player piloting a bad deck can still lose against a newbie with a good deck. Therefore, I will show you in this video how to build a good deck in Synergies. Before we start building a deck, let's start with the basics first. Currently, there are several ways of starting your deck building journey. You can get the Synergies database on the TTS workshop or use the Deckbuilder, which is my personal preferred option to get access on all available cards currently in the game, including already pre-built starter decks. Those starter decks can be found on either Tabletop Simulator workshop mods. They serve as a good foundation to showcase the gameplay idea of each element and can be built upon by swapping in and out cards you like or prefer that suits your personal playstyle. Talking about playstyle, it is important to know first what strategy you prefer before starting. In Synergies, it is quite easy to find the right cards for the preferred strategy by just looking at the 5 different available elements. We have Fire, which follows the strategy of first dealing non-battle damage before finishing the enemy off once they are weakened. It also has a lot of damage manipulation, and being able to wipe the field with a good place combo is quite satisfying. However, if you prefer battling instead, you can look at Earth, who has a lot of units that can deal a huge amount of damage. And once they fall on the battlefield, they can get right back up from the below, the discard pile of the game. The Earth element heavily focuses on the below by either reviving units or activating their abilities once they are put there. Another battle heavy element would be Wood. Here you are typically trying to win by numbers and overwhelm your opponents. There are a lot of effects that also buff small units, so those smaller units can suddenly become very formidable. Healing is also a prevalent ability that you can find here. If you're looking for units that not only can deal a lot of damage, but can also withstand an onslaught, Metal might be for you. Gaining armor that protects your units from harm is a common effect. They also have the most unit with a unique trait, Link, which are units that can link themselves up with other units to make them stronger, or even making it easy to rank up your units up to a rank 3 unit, which are units that can even rival an Ascended Emperor. Lastly, we have the element Water, which is all about control. The common ability is forcing movement in order to control the positions of the units on the field to your advantage. The element also focuses heavily on field cards and got the most minefield cards out of all the other elements. Other than for example Fire, Water deals mostly collision damage by having 2 obstacles collide with each other. After finding your preferred playstyle, you can now start to build your deck. A deck in Synergies can contain from 36 up to 50 cards plus an Emperor card. You can only have 3 copies of the same card except of those elementless cards that are restricted to only 1 copy. The amount of cards can be overwhelming at the start, so for beginners it is completely sufficient to just focus on the cards with the same elements, as they are usually already compatible with each other. With the Deckbuilder app, you can do this by using the element filter. You can also simply load up the available starter decks of the corresponding element as your foundation. For demonstration purposes, I will start building a deck from scratch, preferred Gamestyle. As I prefer a control style deck, I will choose the element Water. And because I'm already sure that I will be only using water cards, I will first add the Water Emperor, Diwomir, as my first card, win condition. Now I have to determine what my win condition will be. In Synergies, you have several ways to win the game, for example by getting to the opponent's base and destroying 3 soul counters, or by gaining 20 might points. Here I want to focus on getting to the base of the enemy, with a strong unit that can deal a lot of damage, while also stopping the opponent from advancing, by turning them for example to idle, basically freezing them on spot, while also making them vulnerable. Here I choose Wu Bing, the Frost Princess, as my main card that I want to focus my deck on. Her ability can deal additional damage to units that are idle, regardless of where they are on the field. Synergies and Combos. Now that we have established the card that we want to put our focus on for our win condition, we are now looking for cards that synergizes with those cards and work well in the combo. In order to be able to trigger Wu Bing's ability more constantly, we therefore need additional cards that can turn enemy units to idle. By using the effect filter, we can quickly determine which cards can do this job, therefore adding Freezing Aura, Freezing Trap, as well as Sturdy Ice Field to the deck. So with the inclusion of those field cards, especially mines, we rely on our opponent to step into the mines themselves to activate them. In order to circumvent the reliance, we want to add cards that forces movement to trigger our mines on our terms. We will use the effect filter and look for force movement. We then immediately find cards like Strong Water Current or Sleeping Sturgeon, which we will add to our deck. Might points. Those cards and ability gives us additional might points through the gain ability of our Emperor. Always try to look out for cards that fulfill the gain ability of your Emperor, as might points are a powerful resource on the game. Not only can you win with them, but it also allows us to change the world cycle to destruction to empower the abilities like our main card, Wu Bing. It also changes the gate element order and allows us to get quicker to the needed gate elements like Earth for Wu Bing's gate requirement. Consistency. Next step is to make the deck more consistent by adding cards that searches or draws, among others. It is, in my opinion, the most important step in deck building. You want to be able to execute your combo in every game, which means increasing your chance to win the game. So here we will add Lina, Shui's Builder, as well as Selena the Brash Mage, who can search directly for those mines. As we have many field cards, we can also consider adding Luna Shui 2, who lets us draw 2 cards. There are cards that are a must include in each deck, also known as staples, and Blessing of the Dragon counts as one, which lets you draw up to 3 cards when there are enough field cards on the field. Our current deck can easily manage that, so therefore we will add these to our deck. We would also need card recycling like Shui's Power Channeling that get us back the Strong Water Currents, so that we can continue to force our opponent to trigger our mines. Yuli, Water Sorceress, is a very strong rank 2 unit, and she can bring back mines like Explosive Frost Charge, our best mine in the deck, so that we can continue to play it. She will also be part of our deck. Countermeasurements. As it is not a single player game we are playing, we of course have to think about what our opponent could do to prevent us from getting our win condition. Also, how to prevent our opponent from getting his win condition. Last point is important if you know what decks are played in the meta, so you know how to counter those, especially the ones that take advantage of our weaknesses. One thing would be to get rid of our mines, which is a key component of our strategy. Luckily we have the perfect card to counter that. Water Aura Protection is qualified for this job, which saves our field card from being destroyed and also heals damage units like our main card. Gate elements. Now that we have our cards, we need to make a final check to see if our deck would work. In Soulgate there's a unique way to play your cards, as you have to have the needed gate elements active in front of you. Our deck currently requires the following elements: water, wood, fire, and earth. As we are playing with the Water Emperor, we will start with all water gates in our first turn. We can get a wood element in the next turn, so those 2 are our most easily accessible gate elements. Fire and earth can be acquired in the mid game. It is important to have a rough idea which card gets unlocked in which turn. Sleeping Sturgeon, Strong Water Current, or Lina, which are good cards to start with, are immediately unlocked in our first to second turn. Luckily, our mines do not require any gate elements to be played. So, let's look at the card who requires more gates like our main unit, Wu Bing, who has a requirement of water, wood, and earth. Earth is a trickier gate, where we can make use of the destruction cycle. By spending 2 mites, we can turn one of our many water gates into an earth gate. You can refer on the world cycle anytime you are building a deck. If you have not chosen an Emperor by now, this would be the perfect time to implement it to your deck by looking at what elements are more common and should be accessible right from the start in your deck. The Emperor determines what 5 gate elements you are starting with, so in most cases, simply look at the card elements and match it. But in some cases, another Emperor might be more well suited for your combos. Card distribution. Cards with easier accessible gates should be more common in your deck rather than cards that have more difficult gate requirements. For example, cards like Metal in this case is a more difficult element to get to. A typical distribution of easier accessible cards versus more difficult ones should be in this 36 card decks, about 15 to 18 easily accessible that you can play turn 1 or 2, and further 15 to 18 semi-accessible for the mid game, and around 3 to 6 difficult ones for the late game. Regarding card type distribution, it is mostly dependent on the strategy you are deploying, but I usually go with the 2/3 rule. In general, try to go half to 2/3 of your deck being units, as they are the most important card type to win the game. Then fill out the rest with orders and field cards. For unit ranks, go 2/3 on the units being rank 1, so then you can always deploy them, and a third to be rank 2 or higher, as they are mostly dependent on having a rank 1 on the field. Of course, there are exceptions of rank 2 units that can recruit themselves without the need of rank 1s. Finishing touches. Now knowing the guidelines, we will finalize our deck by adding some copies of cards that are essential to our main combos, and the one with easier accessible gate requirements to the max amount of copies, which is 3. Especially cards that support consistency can be maxed out. Then we can add some cards that are less accessible or lesser essential or more good to have cards to our deck. Once we reach the minimum amount of cards needed for the deck, we can then go around and give it the finishing touches by removing cards, changing the amount and or replace them. Advanced deck building. Now that we have gone through the whole deck building process, for more advanced and creative player, there are a lot of options in Soul Gates to personalize the deck to you, the player. One of them is adding cards outside of one element pool. There's no restriction on how many elements a deck can have. Check whether we could add useful cards that improves our current deck. There's a useful tool to filter gate elements in the deck builder. For example, our deck using the water element have easy access to water, wood and earth. With these filter, we can find, for example, Gym 2, a fire unit, who not only can put a unit to idle, which helps at the strategy of our deck, but also has an AoE burn damage attack, together with Kala, who turns burn damage to collision damage. The effect of Sturdy Ice Field could be consistently triggered, targeting multiple units and changing them to idle. It then triggers the effect of our main unit, Wu Bing. This makes the addition of Gym 2 insanely strong, therefore we add this card to the deck. And there we have it, our final deck. Feel free to take it and test the deck out yourself or improve upon it. Use a web-based deck builder, which I really recommend to build your own personalized deck, and share them at our Discord server. I'm looking forward to your creations. Hope to see you soon on the battlefield. Bye!